Okay, guys, last video, and this one's just a couple slides, but this video deals with estimation and specifically what that means with division. So far we've learned about addition and subtraction and multiplication with estimation and how when we add or find the sum, say I have like 47 plus 23, and I'm actually solving it, I can first actually solve it, but what we actually do to check to see if the answer is reasonable is we round the numbers. So I could round 47 to 50, I could round 23 to 20, and I could get an approximate estimate, okay? And the same thing for subtraction. If I had 79 minus 21, I could subtract, or I could estimate to check, we round the numbers. So I can make 80 minus 20, and I can get 60 and see that my answers are reasonable. And then we did the same thing for multiplication. If I have 384 times 3, I can actually solve it, but when I want to actually check to estimate, I can round that number. We talked a lot about how you can pick which place value to round to, but you also want to make it pretty easy for yourself. So I think it's easier to round the biggest place value, which would be the hundreds, and take it and multiply it because that's super fast and easy in my head. However, you also, we've talked about, could pick a place value that makes more sense to get a better an approximate answer. And I could do 380 times 3. But however, I need us to see that for all three, addition, subtraction, and multiplication, we are rounding the numbers to the nearest 10 or the nearest 100 or whatever we choose and estimating that way. Division is not like that. Division, we have to use our understanding of math facts. If you are somebody who knows your math facts, then this should be okay for you. If you're somebody who doesn't know your math facts, then this will be more challenging and you're going to have to apply some different strategies. I'm going to give you an example. If I have the problem, let's say I have the problem 23 divided by 3, right? And I actually solve it, and I know that 3 times 7 gets me really close. That's 21, and I would have 2 left over, and I get 7 remainder 2. I'm not going to round 23 to 20 divided by 3 because 20 divided by 3 doesn't actually work out. I end up with another remainder, and again, that's a harder problem to estimate. So if I did 20 divided by 3, I would get 6 remainder 2. And again, this is not an easier problem to do. So instead, when we do division, we are going to divide and check with related math facts, which means that I have to have some sort of understanding. So I'm going to try, when we divide or when we estimate and we say we have the number 79, and I'm like, oh, I can either keep it at 70 or move it to 80, and then I know that 79 is right here, which shows that it should go to 80. We're kind of doing the same thing with division, except instead of thinking about just rounding to the nearest 10, we're going to think about our anchors for related math facts. So again, I'm going to look at this two ways. If I have 23 divided by 3, I need to think of a related fact that can give me an approximate answer. Well, I know that 23 can't be divided by 3, but I need to think of what two numbers anchor 23. So a visual would be if I skip counted 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Well, I'm going to stop because I have my two anchors. I know that 23 is in between 21 and 24. So those are my related math facts that can tell me if my answer is close to the actual problem or if it makes sense. So I could round 23 down to 21 divided by 3, which gets me 7. Or I can round 23 to 24 and do that divided by 8, and that can get me, or do that divided by 3, and that would get me 8. And then I can look and see that my answer, 7 remainder 2, falls in between my two answers, and that makes sense. I know it seems weird now, but tomorrow we're going to show you why you have to do this and how important it is for division, especially in 5th grade. This is something that you have to know how to do, and it seems weird in 4th grade because we don't actually technically need it at this point, but I am promising you that you have to know how to find these anchor numbers for 5th grade for when we get to double digit by double digit division. So we're going to practice finding a couple numbers. Now I know that we've done these, so I'm going to quickly, I'm not going to do obviously long division for these. These are more mental problems, but if I have 39 divided by 8, again, some of you know your math facts, some of you do not. My suggestion, skip count or list the multiples. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. I'm going to stop. I've gotten to 39, and I know that 39 is in between there. So I know that 39 divided by 8 is 4, remainder 5, okay? no, I did 5. 4 remainder 7. So I can check this problem by doing two related math facts. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to anchor down and I'm going to anchor up. So my anchor numbers for 39, if I'm looking, are 32 and 40. So I could check this by doing 32 divided by 8, which I know gets me 4, or I could do 40 divided by 8, which gets me 5, and I can see that my answer actually falls in between those two. So 32 and 40 would be those anchor numbers or those related math facts that help me solve this problem. I'm going to do another one. If I did 35 divided by 4, again, I could, on my paper, list out the multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 32, 36, and I'm going to stop because I'm between my two numbers. So if I'm going to actually do 35 divided by 4, I know that 4 times 8 gets me to 32, 33, 34, 35, and I have 3 left over. But I could check this with my related facts. I'm going to take the number that goes below 35 and the number that goes above 35. So I know that I'm not going to just round 35 to 40 for this one. I'm trying to pick the closest related facts I can find. I'm going to pick, again, up here, because 35 falls between. I'm going to pick my fact of 32 divided by 4, which is 8. And I'm going to pick the other fact, which is 36 divided by 4, which equals 9. And I can see that this number falls in between. Okay? The next one I'm going to do is 59 divided by 9. Again, I'm not going to just round this to 60 divided by 9 because 9 can't go into 60, so that's not helpful at all. I need to think of two facts that will help me solve this problem. So I know if I don't know my facts, I can list them out. 9, 18, 27, 36, what am I going to, 45, 54, 65, 36, 45. I'm going to 59, so I know one of them is times 6. I'm going to take 9 times 6, gets me really close, which would be 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and I would have 5 left over. Now what I'm going to do is check the related facts. I know that 59 falls in between 54 and 63. So I'm going to pick those two numbers as my anchors. So I'm going to do 54 divided by 9, which gets me to 6. And I'm going to do 63 divided by 9, which gets me 7. And I can see that my actual answer falls in between those, which makes sense. Again, I'm not going to pick 60 divided by 9, even though 59 rounds to 60, because 60 divided by 9 doesn't work. It's still going to get me your remainder. That's not very helpful. So we're going to do the next one. This time I'm just going to pick my related facts and just practice. So if you want to think right now, if I have 60 divided by 7, in your head, what two numbers could you round 60 to, or what related fact could you pick that relates to 60 when we're dividing by 7? 60 is a great number. It ends in a 0, but it's not super helpful in this because 7 can't actually go into 60. So if you can know the two numbers that anchor 60 with our 7, then you can put those down. If you don't know, then you need to skip count by 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. What are we going to do? 60. Okay. 35, 42, 39, 63, and then 70. I'm doing 60 divided by 7. Oh, and I see 60 would fall right there. So I should pick the two facts that anchor that, which would be 56 divided by 7, which is 8. And I can pick 63 divided by 7, which is 9. Those are the two numbers I would round to either 56 or I would pick 63 because those are related facts that work with 7. Okay, now I'm going to do 68 divided by 8. Again, 68 divided by 8. I can't just round 68 to 70. 70 doesn't divide by 8, so it doesn't work. In my head, actually, I'm already thinking I could do, even though it's not necessarily the closest one, I could do 80 divided by 8 because that's an easy one, and I know that gets me 10. So I could do that. If I am skip counting by 8s, I'm actually going to not start at the very beginning for 8. I'm going to start with 8 times 5, which is 40, and go from there. 40, 48, 56, 64, what am I going to do, 68, and 72. I could, because I know that 68 falls in between, also pick 64. Or I could pick 72. But if you see this 80 divided by 8, even though it's a little bit further off, it's still a related fact that could work in this sense. Last one, actually, I think just for time, we're going to move on to the next one when we get to higher problems. Nope, I don't want, no thank you. Say I have 87 divided by 3. We actually solved this one before, so I'm going to quickly solve it using the short method just because it's fast. I know that 3 times 2 gets me really close to 8, which is 6. I'm going from 6 to 8, I have a remainder of 2. And I know that 3 times 9 gets me to 27, and I don't have a remainder. Now, if I were going to check this, I am trying to think of a fact that goes really well with 87. 87 is a big number, and I'm not going to skip count from 3 all the way to 87. That would take me forever. So instead, I'm going to look at the number 87, and I'm hoping that some of us who have some sort of number sense are thinking, well, I could actually take that 87, and if I make a related fact and I do 90 divided by 3, that actually does work out. Because I know that 3 can go into 9, so I know that 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 times 30 must be 90. I could pick that as a related fact. Another one that sometimes kids see, which is still okay even though it's pretty far off, is some kids are like, well, I could round down 87 to 60, which I know is super far off, but I can see that 60 can be divided by 3, which would get me 20. Obviously, this one's a better related fact, but if you at least are seeing this, then that's still okay. I just want you to start thinking of what the compatible numbers are with 3. Okay, let's try 76 divided by 4. Again, I'm just going to do the really short way just to check. I know that 4 times 1 is 7, 4 times 2 is 8, so I only know 4 can go into 7 one time. If I've given away 4 and I'm trying to get to 7, I know that I have 3 left over, and then I have 36 ones. And I know that 4 times 8 is 32, 4 times 9 is 36, so my answer is 19. Now, if I wanted to check this, I'm trying to think of the number 76. What could I make 76 into that would be easily divisible by 4? This one's really nice because actually, I know that 80 can be divided by 4, and 76 is really close to 80. So I could do 4 times 20 gets me 80. That would be the best pick, I believe. If you see 40, wanted to change 76 to 40, that's pretty far off, but at least you're starting to think of those compatible numbers. Okay, we're going to do one more. If we have 87 divided by 3, I'm hoping that we're already seeing that 87 is really close to 90, and I can do that divided by 3, and my answer should be pretty close to 30. If I actually solve it, I can check. I know that 3 goes into 8, or 3 times 2 gets me really close to 8, which is 6. I have 2 left over, and I know that 3 times 9 is 27, and I can check and see that my answer makes sense because it is that related math fact. Another example would be if I had, like, let's say I had 49 divided by 5. My related facts for that could be 50 divided by 5, which is super simple, or I could take 49 and round it down to 45, because I know that 45 can also go into 5, okay? You're just trying to think of if whatever number and it doesn't work out, what 2 facts around it would work out and would be an easy math fact for you to solve. We are going to work more with this tomorrow, and tomorrow talk about why we do this and how this relates to math in the future. But I just want you to start thinking about our related facts. If you don't know your facts very well, then I highly suggest getting on First in Math or doing something to help yourself study them. All right, bye guys.